Brian Dozer. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another Sunday at Unity on the River.
Oh, wait, I was second. I'm sorry.
We're all happy to be here. Thank you for coming.
Hi, how's everyone?
I'm good.
I'm a professional. I do this for a living. That's why I seem so confident on stage.
I just play one on TV.
Sorry.
Gladly walk across the desert with no shoes upon my feet. Share with you the last bite of bread I had to eat. I'd swim out to save you in your sea of broken dreams. And all your hopes are fading. Let me show you what love means. Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? Love so loudly every heart could understand. Love and only love bring the tribes of man. I'd swim out to save you in your sea of broken dreams. And all your hopes are sinking. Let me show you what love means. Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? And when we stand together, it's our finest hour. We can do anything, anything, anything. Keep believing in the power. Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? Take a solo, Pete. One more time, let's do it all together. Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time?
Don't you think it's time? Brian Dozer!
Yes!
When the lightning strikes the tree, he said, it's time for me to go. It's been so long since I've been home, and I am ready. So he closed his eyes and left, just like that, to watch us from a different vantage point. And we danced to his memory. When the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, I will be gone. Together we have walked over jagged rock, the crooked desert path, sustained only by faith in the treasure that awaits there. The spirits dance among us, they dance with us, they dance through us, they dance for us when we are too lost and scared to care. When the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, I will be gone. When the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, we carry on. The tree gives its life to the people in a manner so sacred, we can only hope to be as holy. We will turn away from love because the fear won't let us feel it. We beg forgiveness on bended knee. When the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, I will be gone. When the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, we carry on. We carry on. We carry on. When the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, we carry on. Thank you. So as you are able, if you are able, please rise and join us in Surely the Presence. Take the hand of the...
1, 2, 3, 5.
The presence of the Lord
Let us pray. As always, the presence of the Lord is here because you have brought your presence here, each and every one of you who is the embodiment of the divine. You are the love, the peace, the joy, the abundance of God. And our prayer is that we remember that we affirm that we live from that place in each and every moment. Because when we live as God, God is what we see. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen and amen. You may be seated. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Unity on the River. If we have not met yet, nice to meet you. My name is Reverend Ogun Holder. I am the senior minister here. And as always, this is the day I look forward to most, when I can come share spiritual community with you and laugh with you and sing with you and maybe afterwards in hospitality kvetch with you. No, I'm just kidding. We don't kvetch. We connect with you. Connect with you. Thrilled today to have leading our music, the incomparable Lynn Taylor. And as always, these fine musicians and singers who step up every day. They're here early in the morning rehearsing. They get the extra points for service. Thank you very much. And facilitating with me today, Michelle. Glad to have you, Michelle.
Good morning. Welcome to Unity on the River. I'm Michelle Gallant. Happy to be facilitating with Ogun Holder this morning. First, let's welcome our streamers. And if you aren't aware, our services are recorded and you can watch them at home on YouTube. You can also listen to just the talk on SoundCloud, the app. So enjoy relearning at home on your own. We'd also like to welcome anyone who might be celebrating with us for the first time today. If you could please raise your hand if this is your first service. We'd like to welcome you. The usher is bringing you a packet of information about our church, and there is a card you can fill out there and bring it to the Spiritual Resource Center in the bookstore, and that flower gets you 10% off in the bookstore. So we're so happy you're here today. Please know that your presence enriches us, and we welcome all paths to God, and I hope you enjoy your experience here today. Unity on the River is a center of celebration, transformation, inspiration, spirit-centeredness, oneness, and joy. Please hold those truths today as we say our mission and vision statements. We are a vibrant spiritual community that celebrates the presence in all and awakens humanity to its divinity. And our vision statement, centered in love, we joyously co-create a world of oneness, peace, and harmony. I have a couple of announcements for you. It's the first Sunday of the month, so what does that mean? Potluck. Barry has it. So we have some extra food out there today. Please stay and socialize together and enjoy community. We have some very special guests on Wednesday this week for our Wednesday night service at 7. Armin and Angelina will be here offering a very unique experience for our Wednesday night services. An uplifting show with music and mirth and message. They play a unique blend of music that is something between rock and opera and has Native American flute. So come on Wednesday and enjoy that unique music. If you're available on Thursday morning, they will also be here doing a workshop on playing the Native American flute, and that will be at 10 a.m. So have a fun day of music with them on Thursday if you can't make it on Wednesday. We're looking forward to welcoming Dr. Raymond Anderson again on June 17th. He was here with us last year. How many of you remember him? He was a great speaker. So please try to join us for that day. Now it's the time in our service where we welcome one another with a simple hug or handshake or namaste. I see you. I see your magnificence. I see the divine in you. Namaste.
So for the heart opener today, I understood the theme is transformation. So I'm going to do a song called Butterfly. Lonely inside your cocoon, I sing this song for you. I see your wings are beating, trying to break through. See your heart is breaking, mine is breaking too. I sing this song for you, I sing this song for you. Butterflies are dancing high upon the hill. Their beauty is surrounding, calling to us still. Time of greater knowing is drawing ever near. The conch shell is blowing, faith negating fear. Journey has begun now, nature right on track. Cocoons have been ripped open and there's no turning back. Great distances to travel, time is moving fast. The heights we must ascend to are grander than the last. We have planted all that we have sown. I think that we have strayed far from the path once shown. But butterflies are dancing deep within our bones. Butterflies are dancing all the way to home. All the way to home. All the way to home, all the way to home, home.
I like you.
Thank you, Lynn. Hiya. If you've not been here for the last couple weeks or it's your first time, we are in the midst of this talk on this wonderful book, Finding Yourself in Transition. We're talking about change and the gifts that come from it. I love the noodling, but it's going to be a long talk. You don't want to be noodling through the whole talk.
You just let me know.
Gotta save those fingers for your special songs, all right? Just like, so I'm good, but thanks.
So
No drums either.
no. Thanks. Unless it's a really funny joke and then you rim shot me, okay? All right. You're working out the kinks here. So we started with this idea that you know, there's always change happening in our lives, and we don't like change because change is uncomfortable, but the true gift is realizing this is a beautiful spiritual opportunity for growth and expansion in the midst of all the icky feelings that are going on. We talked about the aspects of, first, we've got to leave the thing that was in existence before. The thing leaves us, and so there's a departure, an ending. We begin with an ending. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. We start with an ending, and this can be uncomfortable, and then we have to do a departure. I remember last week we talked about Moses leading the children of Israel out of Egypt, and that departure, even though it was on the surface a good thing, we're finally out of 400 years of bondage, it was still fraught with anxiety and conflict when they were chased down to the edge of the Red Sea. And remember, we got from that this idea that sometimes you're trapped between, the comfort of what we knew before. You know, the Israelites were like, oh, it wasn't good enough. We were dying there under slavery. You had to bring us out here to be massacred. And then we had the whole part of the Red Sea. And we talked about stepping forward in faith. And you'd think that this is where the story would start to get better. We out of Egypt. The Egyptians have all been taken care of. Seas parted. We got the way. Tally-ho. You'd think it'd get better. But for them, it didn't. It didn't because when we have completed our ending and have kind of embraced the departure and ready to move on, before we get to the promised land, before things settle in, we enter this thing called the void. The void. This would be the great place for a nice low minor chord thing. The void. More rumbling, maybe it's a little something. The void. Now we're talking. The void. Okay, so the void is real. So F-N. Thank you. Sometimes when you practice things before it's good, I like going with the flow, but sometimes practice is good too. But we didn't practice this at all. So sometimes now I forgot what I was saying. Oh, I remember now. Okay, here we go. The void. The void. There we go. We got this. So if endings and departures were like chaos and confusion and upheaval, the void is now we're entering a time of flatness. There's nothing going on. We've lost our bearings. Everything that we used to hold as a landmark for the structure of our life and for who we thought we were is now gone. And we're wandering. It's time loses meaning. We forget who we are or doubt who we are. It's a very chaotic time for us. It's a time that touches on a lot of fears of abandonment, of being vulnerable. It triggers past experiences of this as well. So if you might still be remembering or even grieving previous losses and transformations, all of that comes back up too. It's really kind of not a fun time. And we are at angst and not knowing what to do with ourselves. And when we go through this phase, a lot of times we project our angst onto the people around us, the people who are closest to us, or loved ones, I've gone in the habit now in life where I realize I cannot avoid the angst and anxieties that come with transition and change. I mean, it's just part of the process. But I've learned to give the people in my life closest to me some heads up. So I say to them, okay, so I've realized I'm going through this thing right now. So maybe in the next month and a half, anything I say, don't take serious. Don't take personal. Just chalk it up to, oh, he's in transition. I'll meet him at the other side. Just ignore me. Okay? Because what makes it worse is I'm an out loud thinker and processor. How many of you are out loud thinkers and processors? Right? So you're thinking and processing and you say a thing and the person in your life is like, what the? Transition. Ignore me. So if you know ahead of time you're going into this, just give, as a courtesy, give the people around you some heads up. Let them know it's happening, and you're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. See you on the other side. Okay? So we talked about now the children of Israel. We're using the story of Exodus as kind of like, a metaphor for transition. And off they go. They've left Egypt, and from the time they left, it's been complaining and griping towards Moses, okay? The man who came in and led their liberation, and now they're blaming him for absolutely everything that's going wrong. We saw this. I mentioned it just now. You brought us here at the edge of the sea to die. We were dying perfectly fine in Egypt. Now you brought us out here to die, okay? And then it just continued. And I'm sure Moses was like, where's the gratitude for this? If you can't read the bottom, it says, we've been wandering around the wilderness for 40 years. I'm sick of filling out change of action cards. Change of address cards. Change of address cards. There you go. This whole 40-year thing, maybe if you had technology, I don't know if the GPS would have helped. Cross the Red Sea, turn right at Sinai, reach destination, promised land. Arrival time, 40 years. And sometimes we have to ask ourselves, why did it take them 40 years to make a journey that would have taken 6 days? Google map it, people. 6 days on foot. Why did it take 40 years? Okay? We're gonna find out why today. If you haven't read the find, because we always get this just overview. They wandered for 40 years in the desert, and then they showed up. But there's a reason why they did. And this reason has to do with, in the midst of this void, they forgot who they were. They complained to Moses, you're in the desert, you need water. They found water. Here's a good example. They found water, but for some reason, the water was all bitter and not drinkable. And God said to Moses, look at that tree over there, take that tree, throw it in the water, and suddenly the water was palatable. They could drink it. And they were like, yay, God performed a miracle, awesome. And then they complained again. Now we're running out of food. Moses, you brought us here to starve to death. First the Egyptians were going to beat us to death, then we're going to die of thirst. Now we're going to starve to death. Gee, thanks. And then, God sent the manna. You're familiar with the story of the manna from heaven. They woke up in the morning, and there's this edible food stuff on the ground. And God says, collect nothing more than what you need to eat for today. Trust me, there'll be more tomorrow. And guess what they did? They did not trust. And they hoarded it up, and by the next morning, it was all spoiled. It was all spoiled. Trust. God said, trust me. And even here's the cool miracle thing that happened. The day before the Sabbath, there was no working on the Sabbath. There's no gathering food on the Sabbath. So when they got the food on the Sabbath, it miraculously lasted through the Sabbath day so that they could gather extra. In case you don't realize what I'm trying to say is God's going to meet you at every single point of your need. You don't need to worry. But, they were in the void. They were all messed up, confused. They went on doing it anyways. At some point, they reached Mount Sinai, and Moses goes up to have a little one-on-one with God. Okay? This is where he gets the 10 Commandments and a lot of rules about living. And the Israelites feel abandoned. He led us out here. He's gone up on the mountain. He's been up there for 40 days. He's not coming back. God must have just taken him up. We're on our own. What are we going to do? Moses abandoned us. Looks like God's abandoned us too. And this is when they create the golden calf. This is when they take all the golden jewels, melt them down, create this idol of a calf and start worshiping it. Why a calf? Well, many ancient religions centered around worship of a bull in some way, and so they created this calf, probably something they picked up back in Egypt. Quick side note, you know how I love the side notes. Quick side note, the reason Christianity spread the way it did and became one of the world's foremost religions was because of the conversion of the Roman Emperor Constantine. You've heard about this, right? Yeah, but what was he converted from? Anyone knows? Mithraism. They worshiped the god Mithra, and one of the icons, one of the idols of Mithra worship was also a bull. And the Roman army, this religion was really revered by the Roman army. And there was bull sacrifices, and they would drink the blood and felt it strengthened them, and this was their thing. So imagine if Constantine had kind of taken a pass on Christianity, where would we be today? We might not have this beautiful gong. It might be a golden calf. Think about that for a second. Back to the children of Israel. So they're up on this mountain. They're in the desert. They built the calf because they think they've been abandoned. You know what it feels like when you think you've been abandoned and you start getting desperate. So they build this calf, and God gets upset. Now, I can understand Moses getting upset. He didn't want to do this in the first place, but he finally said yes. He's leading these people out of 400 years of bondage, and all they're doing is complaining, and he gets upset. I understand that, but then God gets upset. And up on the mountain of Moses, God says, I've had enough. I'm going to wipe these people out. I kid you not. And then Moses has to talk God back from the ledge. Exodus 32, the Lord said to Moses, I have seen this people, how stiff-necked they are. Now let me alone so that my wrath may burn hot against them and I may consume them. Like the good old Old Testament, where God gets upset when we do silly things, right? So God's like, all right, let me be. I'm going to go take care of these people. And it's Moses who says, Lord, why does your wrath burn hot against your people, who you brought out of the land of Egypt? Turn from your wrath, change your mind, do not bring disaster to your people. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, your servants, how you swore to them by your own self, saying, I will multiply your descendants like the stars of heaven. And all this land I have promised I will give to your descendants, and they shall inherit it forever. And the Lord changed his mind about the disaster that he planned to bring to the people. Basically, Moses said, you're upset. This is all your fault. You promised to bring us out. You promised to give us this land. So, no, don't wipe us out. This is when Moses comes down and breaks the tablets over the calf, and the whole thing happens, and then he goes back up and gets a reprint. Who knows what we lost in the original version? Thank you. So here we go. But this, so after all of this, here's the final straw that gets them on this 40-year journey. They get to the edge of the promised land. So maybe they did make it in the original 6 days. I don't know. But they get to the edge of the promised land. Okay? This is the first time. You don't hear a lot about the first time they get there. But they get there the first time. They haven't begun the 40 years yet. But they get there. And 12 spies are sent ahead to scope out the land. Mind you, this is a land that, in their belief, God had promised to them. This is the land they've arrived at after going through all these obstacles in the desert and God coming through for them and saving them. So the spies go out to scope the land. And all the spies return and say the following. This ain't gonna happen. There are way too many people there. They're way too strong. If we go in there, we getting slaughtered. This is not gonna happen. They all say it except for two, Joshua and Caleb. Joshua and Caleb are the only two people who say, oh, this is the land. It's beautiful, just as it was promised. This is awesome. We've made it, yeah. this is their report. They see the upside. The others just see, we're going to get slaughtered if we go in. And this is the final straw, because God says, you know what? I've had it with your people. Now, I promised I won't kill you, but you're not going into the promised land. So you're now going to wander the desert for 40 years until the original generation of you has died off, and your descendants will now see the promised land. They're the ones who will go in. And that's when the 40 years of wandering started. But before it started, there were a group of them who's like, oh, hell no, we're not going back to the desert. We're going in. And they charged in, and they were slaughtered. So off they go for their 40-year wandering. This is like family drama 101. Seriously. You upset the patriarch or the matriarch, you'll learn about it when the will gets read. Yeah. So off they go wandering. And eventually, just as they say, the original generation that left Egypt died off, and the descendants return to the edge of the promised land. Joshua and Caleb, they're spared. They get to go in the promised land. In fact, as we will find out next week, Joshua's the one who leads them in. But when we find ourselves in this void, in this place where our certainties of anything have been gone away, this is when we have a choice. Because this is a time where, in order to bring some sense of normalcy, we tend to revert back to like some behaviors that we thought we were over. Addictions start flaring up again. We find ourselves gravitating back towards people that we know we shouldn't be gravitating towards. Why? Because at least we know what these things are. We don't want them, but at least we know what they are. When we are in this void, what we have to realize that this is the peak part of the experience of our transformation. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where we can, for the first time, maybe start to see things in a way we hadn't seen them before. But the key is not to panic. The key is not to ask, God, why have you forsaken me? Or, if you want to put it in a more like spiritual metaphysical way, this is the time not to stop your spiritual practices. This is the time where we are tempted because of the uncertainty and chaos to freak out and meditate less and pray less and come to church less and give less and serve less because there's all this upheaval going on and we don't know who we are. But this is not the time to do that less. This is the time to double down on our spiritual practices. Why? Because at the point of our need, that's where we find God. That is where we find the answer, the solution, the comfort. And it may not be the answer to everything, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. The manna didn't fall in one day to cover the rest of their trip, did it? No, it was just at the point of what they needed. We seem to think that when we are in a place of emptiness and barrenness, that something's going wrong. No, it's not going wrong. You're exactly where you should be. Why? Because out of emptiness is when creation happens. The very first verse in the Bible in Genesis says the earth was flat and void and there was nothingness and darkness. And that's when God said, let there be light. Can't say let there be light when there's already light. So out of the darkness and the barrenness of being in the void, that's when creation happens. Often we think that growth means we add stuff. You know, if we want to grow spiritually, we got to do this class. We got to get this new spiritual practice. We got to go see this new guru. We got to do the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. No. Those are all great things, but guess what? Growth comes from taking away. Growth comes when we take away all the things that we think we know, and all the things we think we've mastered, and all our certainties. When we take those away, or they are taken away from us, and we are in the barrenness and the emptiness, that is where and when we find God. Why? Because there's nowhere else left to go. That's when we get in touch with who we really are as divine beings. Why? Because that's all that's left. When we are doing the wandering, when we are doing the questioning, the doubting, as long as we stay trusting, that's when we'll see the miracles. So what do you do in the void? Here we go. If possible, this is my favorite one. Start with a favorite. Avoid making any major decisions or long-term commitments in this period. Our emotions are so volatile, our perspective so changeable, that we might find that the person who made the decision might not be the person who has to live with it later. So no big life decisions. Don't try to push the river. Don't force this. You can't get out any quicker than you think you need to. There's a reason why in the Bible they use that number 40. They wandered for 40 years. Moses was up on the mountain for 40 days. I forgot to mention that when the spies went out to scope the land, guess how many days they were there? 40, right? Why that exact number? Because 40 metaphysically represents just as long as it's going to take. As long as it's going to take. That may be 3 days, 3 months, 3 years, 3 lifetimes? I don't know. But as long as it takes, you cannot rush this process of being in the void. But you can trust that when you come out of the void, you're going to be in a good place. Pray and meditate for regular periods. We talked about double down on your spiritual practice. Take care of yourself physically. Self-care. This is so important. And you know there's that saying, when you know better, you do better, right? But we don't. I'll speak for myself. I don't. And I know there are 2 times of year when I know I'm getting into my grief cycle. Okay. So if you're new to knowing me, my wife passed away 3 years ago, about mid-June. So late spring is a time when it gets triggered a lot. And I know it gets triggered. My body tells me because suddenly I am craving comfort food. Yes. Fast food. Love me a good Wendy's spicy chicken sandwich. And McDonald's chicken nuggets. And chicken and waffles. In case you haven't known, my comfort food is centered around fried chicken a lot. Okay? So there's that. And around the holidays as well, because holidays are a massive grief trigger. Although at the holidays, it's mostly because of eggnog, which I've been drinking for a solid month before Christmas anyway, so I don't know, could go either way with that one. Right? But this is how I know. Okay? And even though I know this, yes, so Friday was my birthday, by the way. Thank you. But I tell you this to illustrate the point that what did I have for my birthday lunch, even though I know better, massive plate of chicken and waffles. And to make it even healthier, they threw a slab of bacon on it. I know these things, but it's so hard. It's so hard when we are in this place because we are desperate. We are desperate to feel a sense of normalcy and comfort. We want to feel like it's going to be okay. And we look to external things to bring us that. And they might for a fleeting moment. But they're not the answer. The answer is to trust in God. The answer is to trust that the divine essence of who you are is going to give you the manna, is going to give you the sweet water, is going to provide the way into the promised land. And just be with that. Feel all the feelings. Feel the anxiety, the sadness, the grief, the anger, feel what you want to feel what you're going to feel. But don't let those feelings hijack your thoughts or your actions. Just let them be. Well, it's birthday cake. You got to have birthday cake. Come on. Can't pass on birthday cake. Good cheesecake. Had Mike's cheesecake for the first time. Oh, that was really good. So take care of yourself physically. Self-care is so important. Develop a support system. We do not have to do this by ourselves. It wasn't just Moses walking through the desert by himself. He had a whole host of people. Even though those were the grumbling ones, he had a few like his brother and some other people who were there to support him. Find your support system, this spiritual community, friends and family members who you can trust and not take it personally when you're in this space. Energy healers, great therapists. Please don't ever underestimate the help that a good therapist can give you. I've helped supply my therapist with a whole lot of income. Yeah. This is why therapists always drive nice cars, by the way. Yeah. Do not think you have to do this by yourself. Because sometimes as spiritual people, we get in this habit of thinking, well, I know the tools. I got the tools. I got this. Yeah. Develop a support system because you're not going to have this every moment all the time. It's there. The divine essence of who you are is eternal and is always with you. And this human self is going to go through some stuff. When it goes through some stuff, let's get support. Call me and come sit. We'll talk. We'll chat. I'm here for you. Support system. But this is the gift of the void. The gift of the void is the taking away of all that we thought was who we are and what we needed. And when we get to spend some time without all of that, we discover a deeper truth about who we are and what we truly need, which is simply to rely on God. And when we do that, we get to the promised land. We get to new beginnings. We get into the newness and the next level of our highest and best, just in time for another ending, and it starts all over again. But what a gift. What a gift. And I hope by the end of this series, next week, we'll talk about what it means to step into new beginnings, what it means to walk into the promised land. And I hope if there's anything you get from this entire series, is this. Change is good. Transitions are a spiritual gift. Embrace it. Walk through it. And come on the other side, simply a little more of the divine essence that you are. Let's take this into meditation. So if you're comfortable, I invite you to simply just take a deep breath. Center the feet on the floor. Get comfortable in the chair. And again, maybe envision and remember, if you're not going through it now, a time when you believed you were certain about everything in your life. Your job, your home, the people in your lives, And one or all these things were changed suddenly, taken away. Maybe you chose to do it. Maybe it was chosen for you. But the feelings that arose from that, connect with them for a moment. It may be uncertainty, anxiety, abandonment, betrayal, loss, grief, doubt. These feelings are the desert that the Israelites wandered through. It's a time of questioning. But it is also a time of stripping away that which no longer serves us. It is a time where we begin to transform into the new version of who we need to be for what comes next. The person who suffered through the ending and the departure is not the same person who will walk into the promised land. The old of us is stripped away. A new God-centered version of us is reborn. In the void, all we need do is trust God. In the void, we turn inwards. And let our divine consciousness be that which anchors us, which guides us, which shows us the way. In the void, I trust in God. In the void, I trust in God. I invite you to affirm that silently to yourselves. In the void, I trust in God. For a few moments in the silence. In the void, I trust in God. In the void, I trust in God. We hold that affirmation for all these names in our prayer box. That as these individuals go through their desert, their void, their feeling of disconnect from God, they remember that the only answer they seek is to trust in God, to trust in the divine essence of who they are, to guide them to that promised land. And should you hold that affirmation for anyone else in your life, including yourselves, I invite you to say their names out loud now. In the void, I trust in God. And so it is.
If it be your will that I speak no more, and my voice be still as it was before, I will speak no more. I will abide until I am spoken for, if it be your will. If it be your will, let a voice be true from this broken hill. I will sing to you from this broken hill. All your praises they shall ring. If it be your will, then let me sing. If it be your will, then let us sing. If it be your will, then let us sing. If it be your will, then let us sing. If it be your will, then let us sing.
Thank you, Reverend Ogun, for that message today. I'd like to introduce our prayer chaplains that are serving today, if you could rise. These beautiful souls are available to pray with you after service, if it's a gratitude or a concern or any kind of request that you might have. They will hold your prayer thoughts and requests in complete confidence. So please take advantage of this after service and sit with a prayer chaplain. Also, if there is a need for a home or a hospital visit, we have that available as well. I see Catherine's here. Is Susan here? No, okay, but we do have a team that can make those visits. So let us know if you have that need or someone that you know might need that. And you can also submit your prayer requests into the box that's in the back of the sanctuary. We have as well a dedicated prayer phone line that will take prayer requests. And our prayer team will pray over your prayer needs and will also send them on to Silent Unity. Now it's that time in our service where we affirm and bless our tithes and offerings. So let us hold them and breathe our energy of abundance into them as we say our affirmation. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
Doing the collection.
I just want to make a few announcements while you play. Is that okay? In the bookstore, they're having a sale on these 2 books, 20% off. They are, I don't know how to describe this. Not often you come across books that are easily readable for both children and adults, that have a great spiritual message. And if you're like me, who's a visual person, like some of the artwork in here is just amazing. So I recommend these 2 highly in the bookstore, 20% off today. Also, speaking of making a long journey into the fullness of who they are, the turtles have emerged from the river and laid some eggs in our meditation garden, as they do every year. Some of the spots where they laid eggs have been marked, some maybe not yet. So as you go out today to the garden, please tread carefully and look around you to make sure you don't disturb any place. If you see any of the little critters struggling to get back down, maybe give them a hand, a gentle hand, very gentle hand as well. And finally, I know as we are getting into summer and things are warming up, we know some of you like to travel a lot during summer and go do different stuff on Sundays, which is very cool. Please remember that here at Unity on the River, we rely on your income solely for our existence. I say this a lot. There's no mother church or mother headquarters sending us any monies or tithes or offerings. It's on you. So I would encourage you to consider getting online and setting up an automatic tithe, or if you know there's a Sunday you're not going to be here, please give your offering online. Again, shift your thinking to realize what you're doing is investing in your spiritual community, to make sure that after you've done your traveling and you go on vacation and you're gone for a few weeks, a few days, a few months, whatever, that we're here when you get back. So in a weird way, it's kind of like an insurance policy. I want to insure, not insurance, E-N, insurance policy. I want to ensure that when I come back from my traveling, because summer is awesome and I want to go travel and do fun stuff, that this spiritual community is here for me. And finally, when I mentioned about finding, support, remember that on Tuesday evenings, if you want to dig a little bit deeper into the book, find yourself in transition, and maybe talk about things you're going through with other people who are in transition as well, we have the Tuesday night class with Amy. Amy, stand and wave at the back there. So if you have any questions about the class, see Amy. There's a sign-up sheet in the spiritual resource center, the counter in the bookstore. But take this opportunity, especially if you are in the midst of transition right now, take this opportunity to dig in a little bit deeper. Let's bless the offering. So I invite you to go to a place of gratitude in your hearts as we give thanks for these gifts. So for everyone who gave here, who gave online, who already set up automatic tithing, however you contribute and invest in this spiritual community, we are grateful. And we also practice the gift of tithing and investing, and we give a portion back to wonderful charities and service organizations here in the Amesbury, Newburyport area, as well as to the Unity movement. And we are grateful for being the reflections of God's abundance. And so it is. Amen. Amen.
It takes so many people to create this service, to keep this center going every day and every week. We want to do that general thank you for everyone, and particularly this week for Denise for organizing the wonderful memorial service for Lisa Gallant, no relation, all those who contributed to the new tree that was planted in her memory, and also to Carol and Jim and everyone who was involved in creating that service. The teams we want to acknowledge today is the Meditation Garden team, the live streaming team, the altar team with our beautiful flowers every week, and the folding team. Also, if there's any board members here today, if you could stand to be acknowledged. All right. And now it's time for I Hear Them All.
I hear the crying of the hungry in the deserts where they wander. Hear them crying out for heavens on benevolence upon the mighty.
Who is it?
Productive pilots prevailing.
Oh, Muriel.
I hear fools, balls and headed.
How many?
The crooked wits of tyrants when they call. I hear them all, I hear them all, I hear them all. I hear the sound of tearing cages and the roar of burning paper. All the rhymes in acquisition turn to air and ash and vapor. And the rattle of the shackle far beyond the fencing pages. And the loneliest to gather in their stalls. I hear them all, I hear them all, I hear them all. So while you sit and whistle Dixie with your money and your power, I can hear the flowers grow beneath the rubble of the towers. I hear leaders quit their lying. I hear babies quit their crying. I hear soldiers quit their dying, one and all. I hear them all, I hear them all, I hear them all. Tender words from Zion. I hear Noah's waterfall. I hear the gentle Lamb of Judah sleeping at the feet of Buddha, and the prophets from Elijah to the old Paiute from Boca take their places at the table when they're called. I hear them all, I hear them all, I hear them all. I hear them all, I hear them all, I hear them all. Choir, Unity Band.
Do we have kids coming in? We're not sure, but until we find that out, I do want to remind you we do have a new Artist of the Month. Forgot to mention Muriel. Where's Muriel? Muriel. Hi, Muriel. Muriel's the Artist of the Month, so please check that out in the hospitality area. And then no kids today, so stand. Take the hand of your neighbor. And let's affirm the truth for each and every one of us, that there is peace on earth, and it begins with us. Let there be peace on earth. We affirm the truth. The light of God surrounds us. We are the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love of God. The power of God protects us. We are the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. We are the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well, and we are richly blessed.
When the lightning strikes a tree, he said, it's time for me to go. It's been so long since I've been home, and I am ready. So he closed his eyes and left, just like that, to watch us from a different vantage point. And we danced to his memory. When the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, I will be gone. When the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, we carry on. Together we had walked over jagged rock, the crooked desert path, sustained only by faith in the treasure that awaits there. The spirits dance among us, they dance with us, they dance through us, they dance for us when we are too lost and scared to care. When the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, I will be gone. When the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, we carry on. The tree gives its life to the people in the manner so sacred we can only hope to be as holy. We who turn away from love because the fear won't let us feel it, we beg forgiveness on bended knee. When the lightning strikes the tree, oh, lightning strikes the tree. When the lightning strikes the tree, I will be gone. When the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, we carry on. We carry on. When the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, when the lightning strikes the tree, we carry on.